The World Series is set. The Los Angeles Dodgers will be taking on the Toronto Blue Jays after the Jays emerged alive and victorious from what was an unforgettable Game 7 at Rogers Center on Monday night. The Seattle Mariners, their season is over. In heartbreaking fashion, it is jubilation in Canada and utter despair in the Pacific Northwest as the Jays will be going to their first fall classic since 1993. And how did they do it? Well, if you're watching this, you have probably already seen George Springer's massive swing, his 3-run blast in the 7th inning that put Toronto ahead for good. But we will start at the beginning and work our way from there. Mariners got on the board first in the top of the first and an RBI single from Josh Naylor. Julio Rodriguez leadoff double to start the game. It was his first knock in the leadoff spot. They'd been moving him up and down the order a little bit. He moves in a leadoff spot, gets it going, gets the second, scores on that Naylor single. The Mariners are off and running against Shane Bieber, bottom of the first. George Kirby on the mound for the Mariners. Now, Kirby, in his last start in the series in Game 3, was terrible. Allowed 8 earned runs across 4 innings. 8 earned runs tied for the most runs ever allowed in a single postseason start. Outrageous. Could he bounce back? Early on, it looked a little bit shaky as Dalton Varsho hits an RBI single in the bottom of the first to tie things up. And it's like, okay, now we're off and running. Mariners punch in the top, Jays punch in the bottom. Game kind of settles in from there. We get yet another Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit in that first inning on a pitch right down the middle that he rips for 110. If he had gotten this in the air at all, it certainly would have been his 7th home run of these playoffs. Let's fast forward to the top of the third. Julio Rodriguez, his spot in the order comes back up, and he goes deep to put the Mariners up 2-1. Shane Bieber hanging a slider in the middle of the plate, and Julio cranks it 108.6 miles an hour out to deep left center. It wasn't the worst pitch in the world. Bieber got it away from Julio, a little bit off the dish, but left it up, and that was enough for Julio to put the M's ahead, and you're starting to smell it. You're starting to think, could the Mariners be on their way to the first World Series in franchise history? That feeling only grows in the 5th inning when the big dumper himself, Cal Raleigh, takes one off of Louis Varland, maybe the worst pitch of the entire series. 94-mile-an-hour changeup, middle, down a little bit, and Cal golfs it up 102.1 to right field, 381 feet. Mariners up 3-1. At this point, they had taken out Shane Bieber. They didn't seem to want him facing the top of the order for a third time. So when Julio's spot came around in the 4th, they go to Varland. Now, a key moment here is I'll go back even further. Victor Robles draws a walk with 2 outs in the 4th inning. That forces Jays manager John Schneider to put Varland in the top of the 4th. That forces Varland to do an up-down where he needs to get the last out of the 4th and then come back out for the 5th. And I think that does play a role in him serving one up to Cal. So it's 3-1. I'm looking at flights to Seattle. I won't lie. Probably shouldn't have done that. My apologies to the Mariners fans. Because in the top of the 7th, George Springer ignites the North. I mean, where do you even begin? This is one of the most iconic swings in recent postseason history. So Brian Wu came in the 5th inning to relieve Kirby, who only allowed that 1 run in the 1st. Looks good in the 5th. Looks good in the 6th. And they roll him back out there to start the 7th. Walks the leadoff man, Addison Barger. Okay. Dan Wilson, Mariners skipper, sticks with him for another batter, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. He has IKF, one of the weaker hitters in this Toronto lineup, if not the weakest. He has him 0-2, and Wu leaves a slider middle, basically like the only place that IKF could do anything with it. He strokes it up the middle for a hit. 1st and 2nd, nobody out. Next batter, Andres Jimenez bunts those 2 runners over, sacrifice, out comes Wu. So it's 2nd and 3rd, 1 out, Springer up at the dish. Dan Wilson walks out there and calls upon not Andres Munoz, the Mariners lockdown closer, all-star hurler, flamethrower, one of the best relievers in the sport. He calls on Eduard Bizardo, who has been a valuable workhorse for this Mariners team. He threw 2 innings last night. He's worked in bulk. He's worked in high leverage. He's worked in a lot of different spots. And frankly, he should not have been working in this one. On the second pitch that he throws, George Springer makes Wilson, and all of Seattle pay with a 3-run crank job to left field, first row, and it's just pandemonium at the Rogers Center. I mean, it's the camera is like shaking before the ball even leaves the yard. It is one of those moments that makes us, sift through every move in the offseason and do spring training monotony and the humdrum dog days of August. It's all for this. Like, this is it. And Springer delivers his 23rd home run of his postseason career, tying Kyle Schwarber for 3rd on the all-time list. It was the first go-ahead home run while trailing by multiple runs in the 7th inning or later in Game 7 history. That comes courtesy of the one and only Sarah Langs. And there were 6 outs left, technically. Didn't really feel like it. This was a backbreaker. The Mariners did not have another counterpunch in them. They go down pretty tamely in the 8th against Chris Bassett, who was a starting pitcher for most of the season. All of the season. He throws the 8th. Then for the 9th, they bring in Jeff Hoffman, their big free agent acquisition for the Blue Jays last winter. He was unreal in April, bad for most of the season, figured things out down the stretch, comes up just in the biggest of spots and strikes out the side. Leo Rivas, pinch hitter Dominic Canzone, and then gets Julio Rodriguez swinging on a full count. Julio chasing, we'll say 3 too many times. Didn't really see a strike in this at-bat and goes down swinging. Hard to fault Julio, who is the main Mariners catalyst in this game. Cal Raleigh, one of the greatest seasons of all time, ends it on deck as the Toronto Blue Jays do the thing. A couple different talking points here. The Mariners, the only team to not participate in a World Series, that not so fun fact endures for at least one more season. What a year for the M's. They come within 1 game. I mean, this is the furthest a Mariners team has ever gotten. No Mariners team had ever won 3 games in an LCS. Is that a sad accomplishment? A little bit. But I think in time, Mariners fans will look back upon this year fondly. A reason they may not is because of how this went down. And this is an unacceptable pitching decision. For Dan Wilson to go to Bizardo and not Munoz in the spot with runners on 2nd and 3rd and 1 out. I mean, the season, as we very well saw, was hanging in the balance. And instead of going to your best arm, you go to a good arm. And it's really like, can you sleep at night? Right? I would rather go down with the guy who got you there. Now, why? Let's just put ourselves in Wilson's shoes. Like, why does he not go to Munoz? The argument I guess you would make is, well, they're going to have to face the top of the order 2 more times at that point, right? This is the 7th. You're probably going to have to see Springer and Guerrero again. And so you want Munoz to handle that in the 9th. I get the argument. It's a bad argument. The reason it's a bad argument is because the highest leverage spot is right there in front of you with 2 runners on and the tying run. You don't know what's going to be in the 9th inning. The Mariners maybe tack on a couple more runs. Maybe the bases are empty. Like, this was the biggest spot in the game. And Dan Wilson did not have his guy ready and did not go to him. And I think that is something that sadly will define the rest of his managerial career. As far as the Blue Jays are concerned, what a team. What a win. What a series. Vlad wins ALCS MVP, incredibly deserved. He finishes the night just 1 for 4 with this is a 113 mile an hour line out, 2 batters after the Springer homer that almost tore a hole in Randy Rosarena's glove out in left field. Vlad is the deserving ALCS MVP. He is the face of this team. He was tearing up during the celebration on the field. You could really understand what it meant to him. And here the Jays go. They're going to be the underdog, even though they get to host games 1 and 2 of this World Series against the juggernaut Dodgers. They will not be favored. The Dodgers pitching is superior. The Dodgers have more famous and experienced names in the middle of their lineup. The Blue Jays probably have the better bullpen. How much will that edge matter? We will see, but they're feeling it right now. The Jays will turn around. It is now the early hours of Tuesday morning. They'll turn around and they'll play on Friday. The Dodgers have, after sweeping the Brewers, have not played since Friday night. By the time they play, they will be off for a full week. Does that rest help? We'll see. What does Springer's health look like? His leg is really banged up. He was playing through it. Adrenaline helped him. Last thing, Bo Bichette. Second best hitter on this team. Third, that's probably Springer disrespect. Bo Bichette asked after this game, and he said he'll be ready. He has not played so far in October, out with an ankle injury. He's been fighting like hell to get back, and it looks like he'll be in there for the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series. Game 1, Friday night, Rogers Center, 8:08 Eastern Time, because can never make things too simple. And yeah, go watch the highlights again. Like, this game ruled. I'm Jake Mintz for Yahoo Sports. See you at the World Series.